The time being 4:30, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the declaration of the office of mayor and council. I will administer the declaration to Mayor Robinson, and then Mayor Robinson will administer the declaration to each councillor separately. So Mayor Robinson, if you would come up, please.
I, Darkese Robinson, have been elected to the office of mayor in the municipality of the Township of Red Rock. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath. There. Nancy Gladden.
I, Nancy Gladden, having been elected to the office of councillor in the municipality of the Township of Red Rock, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in unbiased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
I, Gordon Muir, have been elected to the office of council in the municipality of Red Rock, and I solemnly do promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received or will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing that to be true and knowing that the same force and effect is made under oath.
Yeah.
I, Michael Smith, having been elected to the office of councillor in the municipality of the Township of Red Rock, so solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath. Thank you.
I, Cindy Brand, having been elected to the office of councillor in the municipality of the Township of Red Rock, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truthfully, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirectly, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath. Congratulations.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robertson Superior Treaty and that the land we gather on is home of the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. Administration advises that there are no amendments to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make any amendments? Seeing none. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Brand, Councillor Smith. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Seeing none. Okay, we don't have much on here, so it's 8.1, information purposes only relating to your report on board commitments and upcoming conferences. So Mark will explain a bit of what's involved, what the commitment is. And
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations, everyone. Second, I want to apologize first all for using acronyms on this report. It becomes habit in our world, and I apologize for that because some of you may not know what these acronyms stand for. But we'll go through this and I'll clearly explain what we're looking at just from this initial meeting. We will meet again Monday with our first meeting, but these are some items that we had to get out of the way right away. So when we do look at our board appointments, so the Township of Red Rock, along with Nipigon and Dorian, represent Thunder Bay District Social Services, which is the first acronym being TBDSAP, as well as Thunder Bay District Health Unit. So we share 4-year terms between each municipality. These 2 terms fall onto Red Rock for this term. So we do need to appoint a member to these boards. I do have details of meeting schedules and that I'll share with you shortly. But it is a commitment that Red Rock has at this term. So I'll go through kind of the particulars on each board, and we're not looking. I guess at this point, I'm certainly not looking for commitment from anyone, but just that general discussion based on the mandatory boards that we have to appoint members on. So Thunder Bay District Social Service is the commitment to that meeting is, what you're looking at is basically one meeting per month in the city of Thunder Bay. They do have an optional meeting structure based around Microsoft Teams, I believe it is, or Zoom, I believe it is Microsoft Teams. So, but what it does commit us to is the meetings are generally held on the third Thursday of every month, and they begin at 10 a.m. So, Thunder Bay District Social Services is probably the most demanding of the meeting structure. If I say I've sat personally on both boards in the past, but so that covers Thunder Bay District. So generally speaking, one meeting a month, 10 a.m. in Thunder Bay, and there is a Microsoft Teams option. I know they have spoken to me about the fact that when we do appoint a member, that member at minimum probably attends the first 3 meetings in person, because they do have an extensive orientation based around that board as well. So what that board consists of is 14 members from regional municipalities. I believe there's 6 members from the city of Thunder Bay, and then scattered around through the region, the little small towns surrounding Thunder Bay, as well as far east as Manitouwadge. So Manitouwadge Marathon share a seat, Scriber Terrace Bay share a seat, Nippigan, Red Rock, Dorian, and then Shunia has a seat with a couple of the unorganized around there. So, or sorry, not the unorganized, but the small municipalities around the city. Thunder Bay District Health Unit is a similar commitment. It is, again, one meeting per month. Theirs are on the 3rd Wednesday of each month, and they normally commence at 1 p.m. Meetings run approximately 1.5 to 2.5 hours in lengths. There is a virtual option as well. And at this point, they're expecting that option remains there for at least the short term. Again, same kind of request that at minimum the member would attend the first 2 or 3 meetings live. Both of those boards do pay obviously travel and accommodations around that. So the final board, and again, I'll take questions at the end as we go through board. Final board is Thunder Bay District Municipal League. Red Rock represents Red Rock only on this. I sit on the board as an administrative rep for NOMA, so I do represent Red Rock in that capacity, but we should have an elected official. There should be an elected official on that board representing Red Rock. Their commitment, and we just met the other night last week setting our what will be the schedule moving forward for that. What that looks like is they're going to meet monthly as well, but they're going to meet 2 virtual meetings followed by an in-person. So every 3rd meeting would be an in-person meeting. Those meetings take place in either Red Rock, so that's nice for us. We will host here when it is our turn. So it will be a shared meeting more than likely between Nippigan, Red Rock, and Dorian, where we'll act as a host at one of those meetings. Their in-person meeting tentatively is normally on a Saturday. They're talking about rearranging some of their virtual meetings that may take place during the week, but they haven't set those standard 100% yet. So I would think at this point you'd be expecting that meeting every month, and quite possibly a Saturday that would be an afternoon meeting, say in Red Rock or Nippigan. I'm not sure if there's any questions that you may have for me on that. We'll stop at that. If there's any more questions based on commitment or kind of a move forward plan there, or if there's any interest around the table on any of the boards.
I have an interest in the DSAP.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll be honest, I'm gonna have to sit on this just because this will conflict with my work schedule. I can look at the Thunder Bay Municipal League a little more, but I think the other two are definitely probably gonna be out for me.
It's, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I might be interested in one of them at least. However, again, I will need a bit more time to look into it, see exactly the commitment. I'm sure I can make it work, but I just like to see which one kind of interests me at least the most, so I can give it my all.
Okay,
Is it just one counselor per organization?
yeah, so we'd be looking for one counselor to sit on. I mean, if it was a counselor that sat on multiple, that's okay too. I mean, but we'd need one. I think are you asking if it's one on DSAB, one on health unit, and one on Thunder Bay District? Yes, that's so I mean, Councillor Gladden has interest in DSAB, so I mean that looks like maybe we can make that happen. Like I said, I do sit as a rep on Thunder Bay District, so we are in the room on that discussion as per se, and I certainly understand that they do take commitment, and that's why I wanted to bring it to each of you now. They are, I mean, not to use a strong word like mandatory, but they are a commitment that we have with the Township of Red Rock. I haven't discussed with the other communities if we didn't have a member, how that works, whether we could defer that one seat to another community, being Nipigon or Dorian. I guess I'll wait and see where we land on that, but it's certainly a commitment that we do have based on this 4-year term.
So I've been sitting on the municipal league one, so if somebody else wants to take that over, but yeah, so if we're not going to hand these over to anybody else, so if I have to, then I'll pick up the other meetings. I understand everybody's commitment to work, but you know, these are some of the decisions you've made, you know, joining council. I take 12 days off, vacation days a year, to make sure I can make it to a council meeting. So, I mean, now if I have to pick up some of these, I'll end up having to use more, but that's, you know, that's my commitment as mayor to the township. So just obviously give it some thought. You may have to use up some of your vacation time or that time or those type of things, but you know, these are important boards for us to sit on. Okay.
Is it possible to get a little bit more information regarding that Thunder Bay Health Unit one?
Yes, certainly. So actually, I've got their meeting minutes for the last meeting will be on our next agenda for Monday evening. I have the general letter that came to me this morning from them, but it really doesn't say anything other than I have on there that I've presented. But like anything else on these meetings, I know they catch. It's hard to explain. I mean, you can read the minutes, but I mean, especially as a first-time counselor going into them, there's definitely that element of surprise and or shock sometimes. But it's if I can speak to my personal experience on the boards, I mean, I've always found that they're a great learning experience. You meet a lot of people that are in the same situation or the same chair as you, and you meet a lot of people in the region, and they're great ways to learn. So obviously the health unit governs that exact piece around health, and DSAB is social services.
Just to comment on Councillor Smith, sorry. I did sit on the health unit board my first term in council, and it was a great experience. You know, they have presentations all the time about programming in the city and in the district and what the health unit provides. So it's really just sitting there listening to a lot of speakers, you know, giving their summaries of the programs that are going on and what the health unit provides. and you just make decisions. You know, moving those programs forward. Councillor Mayor.
With that, the municipal league, it's virtual, and then the Saturdays, I'll be able to pull that one off. I just unfortunately can't. I won't be able to take the Wednesdays.
Councillor Brand.
I would be interested in the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, as with Michael, maybe perhaps Hay and I can speak to you a little bit more about it and just get some details, and then Michael and I can make a decision on that, if that would be okay.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it for sure. I didn't have any intention of putting it in front of you to make that decision today, but ultimately knowing we have to make that decision. So yeah, if unfortunately you can't share the position, you'd have to and in saying that, based on the one thing that has came out of the pandemic is the fact that there is options based on Microsoft Teams and or Zoom options. They've become quite acceptable and common in the workplace. And I mean, if you took an example on the health unit, for example, and you used that, it was a 1 o'clock, say, I believe they said a 1 o'clock start average, and an hour and a half at most, you know, an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, I mean, if you had a Teams meeting that way, I think it's a lot more understandable and accessible now than not having the Microsoft Teams. So, but certainly we can. It's a good start. We know that we're committed to those, and I have to report both these structures, other than Thunder Bay District, that will look for a board member quite quickly, because it changes with the term you guys are in. District Social Services and Thunder Bay District, or the health unit, operate under different acts, so they'll actually not turn over until January. But they want to know who they're getting as the board member in this week, kind of in the next week here, so that they can have the orientation and that kind of thing started. So yeah, think about it, and we'll discuss that further even on Monday. But that's a good start.
What's that? Okay. And now, how about a discussion on the conferences?
Yep, I just wanted to bring those to your attention as well. I'll start with Thunder Bay District. That's more of a save the date at this time, but March 23rd, 24th is what they're looking at for their annual conference. So that is always in Thunder Bay. Normally it's held at the Prince Arthur, I believe. It's again that grassroots conference that handles the municipalities from Manitouwadge to Thunder Bay and surrounding area. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention now as a save the date, if it was something that interests you at the time. The other one that's coming up quickly, and may not be the best time early in a term, in my opinion, but it is coming up in January. I know we'll be kind of just hopefully getting our feet wet in that, but again, that's a date that's tentatively or that is planned. That one's officially planned for the 22nd to the 24th of January. So the role of council in that regard is if council's interested in attending and putting a plan together based around if there's a pertinent reason to meet a minister, for example. I don't know about the timing now for us, but in saying that, if it's something council wants to attend, then we can certainly make that happen if that's the case.
So past practice was that we had 3 people going at most, was a councillor, mayor, and the CAO. So I don't know if that's written in stone anywhere for the municipality, or we always just budgeted that. So that's a consideration as well.
Yeah, it's part of where we're going to go right away in this term, and that's looking at our procedural bylaw right away and how we make those decisions, how we operate, how council, for example, is able to plan that based on who's going, based on the dollar amounts that we budget in that way. Certainly, I don't think there's a reason at any time to send all 5 members of council to a conference in Toronto by any means, but yeah, it's definitely what we have to look at, and that is and was generally the practice where you would attend with 3 people.
Councilor Muir?
Yeah, I definitely want to throw my hat in for the Roma one in January. I think with the stuff that's going on, be nice to get in their ear about the EMS right off the hop. Be nice to get in their ear again about the bridge and just giving us more money. So definitely make myself available for that if we can.
Are they still accepting, I don't know what the proper word is, meetings with ministers? Like that is still open, it's not closed?
Yeah, I believe that's kind of where I'm saying on the time crunch that they have. I believe the time crunch for that is 2 days after our next meeting. So it's kind of one of those things where, or after the meeting on Monday, right? So they normally do extend it, and I can't see where they wouldn't under this circumstance. But the key to going to a conference like that, and I agree with going. I think there's merit in attending. The key is having a plan going to a minister, because if you don't have a plan going to a minister, you're basically spinning in the sand, right? I mean, you need that clear direction, whether it is a bridge or whatever that is. So we'll have to get those thoughts together quite quickly, and I can reach out first thing tomorrow to see if there's an extension based on that, and go from there.
Councillor Gladden?
Is there a deadline for registration?
The deadline for registration, I'll have to pull that tomorrow. I believe it's the pre-registration is out, and I believe there's a deadline of the 30th of November. If I remember correctly.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I guess we'll look for more information at the next meeting. Okay, next item is bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Gladden. We'll learn how to spell that. Councillor Smith. Okay, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Time being 4:58, no other business to attend to. The meeting is adjourned.